This is Andrew Clendenin with the World of Texas Music on the web at WTXM.org. Today's podcast will feature William Flato. William is an accomplished percussionist, a songwriter, a DJ, and an expert in the use of Ableton software. William is also a recording engineer, and he holds a degree from the Santa Fe University of Art and Design in Santa Fe, New Mexico. What's up, William Flato?
What's up?
Last week we missed Tomorrowland in Boom, Belgium, one of the largest electronic dance music festivals in the world. 400,000 people attended the festival. So EDM is alive and well.
Oh, yeah.
What makes it so popular?
It's a culture, definitely. You go to one of those festivals and immediately you just get overwhelmed by how happy everybody is to be there. You know, if you think about it, and technically everybody that's there, they paid something like $200, $300 to be there, and that is really what allows us to be on. So everybody's there. They paid for this party collectively, and They're all there to just have a great time. And you can really feel it. It's like it's in the air. I just recently went to Bonnaroo, which was my first huge festival like that. Right. I don't think it's quite as big as Tomorrowland, but definitely over 100,000 people. It was mind-blowingly huge. It's like one of those that you camp there. So we were there for 3 days camping overnight, and had to trek about a mile into the actual festival place every day. But on the way there, everybody's just like, happy Roo, like high fives all around, and everybody's just giving you free stuff like free food, free beer, and you go to the actual concert area, and everything is just gigantic. And oh man, I mean, I'm addicted now to festivals. It's very inviting, and so I can tell why it's so popular for sure.
So it's a culture for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's not just the music.
No, but the music's a huge part of it. It's very easily danced to. You know, there's just that 4-on-the-floor beat. So that's just super easy to bob your head to or dance and get crazy with. And there's no real judgment on those kinds of festivals, so you can be as crazy, flailing your arms around, twirling in circles, and you just kind of look the part at that point. And you can just be yourself, and it's really fun.
One of the group.
Yeah, one of the group.
Who are your favorite DJs?
So I really like this group out in California called Selection. They're not super well known yet. Hopefully they become much larger. But in that group, there's some people like Mr. Carmack, Sango, K. Tronada. I don't think he's officially part of Selection, but he's in that realm. There's a DJ called Branches. These guys, they're just kind of unorthodox. They tend to steer away from the typical, the 4-on-the-floor beat and all the synths and very like the popularized type of EDM. They try to become a little bit more eclectic with this type of stuff they do. They got a lot of influence from South America, Brazilian, kind of those. There's a genre down there called baile funk. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Nope.
It's like the classic interpretation is so they'll take those vocal samples and mash them into their
very
music.
Latin, for
very
sure.
Latin, yeah. But it's not like Mexican or Hispanic Latin. It's another little realm there. Yeah, so I really like that where they start kind of fusing all these genres together and creating something new. That's what influenced me a whole lot in college.
Their difference in what's actually currently happening in EDM.
Yeah, I mean, so they have been around for maybe 5 years. I think 2012 is when I really started listening to them. I guess that's like 7 years. 2012 is when I really started listening to them. And at that time, it was very different. I think they've influenced the scene enough so that that's becoming a little bit more mainstream now. All that really eclectic, the beat scene is really getting popular now. But back when I started first listening to them, it was very groundbreaking, brand new stuff, just like something I had never heard before, which was pretty cool.
So you mentioned 4-on-the-floor. Would you explain what that is? Being a drummer.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's just the most basic kick drum rhythm there is. Just every quarter note, there's a kick. So kick, 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 kick on a 2 and a 4. So it'd be on the 2 and 4 you'd have the snare drum. So it'd be kick, snare, kick, snare. But on most house music, there's going to be a kick in every quarter note there. So that's 4-on-the-floor.
So most music listeners know this.
Yeah.
They may not know that term.
Most musicians will know that term.
Sure.
But I think everybody will, they'll be familiar with that rhythm. Yeah.
So you're from old San Antonio,
Yes,
Alamo
sir.
City.
Mm-hmm.
That town has such a rich musical culture, heavy metal, Tejano, hip-hop, the list goes on. Were you listening to all that music growing up there?
Not really. So it's funny. Growing up, I don't know if there was one specific genre I really listened to intently. I grew up in a Christian household, so we had a lot of Christian music around the house, and my kind of listened to whatever my parents listened to, but they weren't huge on music. I honestly don't know where I got it from. So they had whatever albums were in their car. I can't even remember. I know we had some a cappella Christian album in there, and we'd listen to the radio some. But I, as a kid, was very excited about making music. We had a piano in the house, and so that's where I got all my influences, was from myself creating music. It wasn't until I got to maybe middle school. I mean, elementary school, I started to like figure out what hip hop was, and I heard whatever I could on the radio, but never like delved into it. My parents really weren't excited about me listening to hip hop music,
Right.
so that didn't work out so easily. Went to middle school, and then in there I got really into metal music, like screamo. I think that was a bit of rebellion from like, okay, I'm going to do my own thing here. So I think this is what my parents hate the most. So I'm going to go ahead and listen to that.
Definitely going there.
Yeah. So as much screamo music, I'd listen to bands like The Devil Wears Prada, Under Oath, A Day to Remember, The Fall of Troy, all these really emo
Right.
screamo bands. And so that's going to influence my music now in some way. And then in high school is when I heard about dubstep, Skrillex, and Bass Nectar. And I mean, those were the two main ones. Oh, Diplo is another guy that I listened to in high school. And that was really where I fell in love with electronic music and thought, okay, yeah, this is something that I can get into. Also, when I found out about those guys, I had some friends that had just downloaded Ableton Live. I had no idea what that was. The most creative that I could get with music was with my keyboard and my electric drum kit at home. I would make some cool stuff with that. I never even knew there was a program that could do what Ableton did. So I saw them just in their practice room working on the computer, and I was like, what the heck are you guys doing? Picked it up, and yeah, once I downloaded Ableton, I did not stop using it until now. And that was 2010, most likely. Even in math class and English class and history, all in high school, I'd be in the back with my headphones on, pretending like I'm taking notes, but I'd be making music in there.
It worked out for you.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of hours of practice there that I get to take
We're going to
advantage
talk
of.
about practice here in a minute.
Yeah.
But that's interesting that you brought that up. What was your first memory of music?
My first memory would I started taking lessons on piano when I was about 3 years old with an instructor. Her name was Shannon, Miss Shannon, I think. And so I probably had some sort of musical something going on before that, but I definitely remember learning a lot there. She would let me play with her little percussion instruments, and I learned the Superman theme on the piano and stuff like that.
That's great.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed that.
John Williams is coming.
Oh, yeah?
Superman. I think he wrote that
Yeah.
maybe theme.
I think you're right, yeah, he did.
So you're 3 years old. You're playing piano. Did you stay with that for a while?
Yeah. I think the reason my parents chose to give me piano lessons was because when they were first married, they were trying to fill in their house a little bit, getting furniture and stuff. And somebody had a garage sale down the street, and they were selling this full acoustic piano. And so neither of them knew how to play, but they're like, that would be a great furniture piece. And then I was born, and I started messing with it and trying to figure out music. So like, hey, he's kind of good. Let's give him lessons. And that kind of exploded. And so I just fell in love with it. I would make my own music. For a few years, I don't remember how long I took lessons there, but I know we moved out of that house when I was 10 years old, and we went to College Station because my mom was studying at A&M. And in College Station, I didn't take any official lessons, but I still had my keyboard in my room, and I would still experiment with music. And yeah, I played a lot. I had my aunt, she was a pastor, and so her children all knew how to play instruments too, so I would play worship songs with them and learn a lot of that stuff. And it wasn't until I moved back to Spring Branch, which is just north of San Antonio. We were moving back to San Antonio, basically. Right. Moved back there. My granddad, he's a drummer. He calls my dad, and he's telling him something on the phone. And my mom is watching them have this conversation, and my mom is just like, because my dad he's going like, I don't know if we need that. That's might not be a great idea. My mom was just like, no, give him whatever he wants. He's your dad. Like, no, it's fine. Go for it. And he was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's get it. And he hangs up, And my mom was like, so what was it about? He's like, I guess we're getting William a drum set. And she's like,
surprise,
what?
surprise.
Yeah, his neighbor was selling one. So they bring the drums over. I get really excited. I get lessons. And yeah, since then, I just started getting really involved in drums as much as I could do it in school and outside of school. I played a lot of gigs. I was in a few metal bands and stuff.
So you use the drum today, obviously, or what you learned from
Definitely.
drumming.
Yeah. All those rhythms and just kind of, because I don't know, I think I learned a lot of really technical stuff when I was drumming. And so knowing that now allows me to create really simplified beats that are impactful. So there's not a whole lot of stuff going on, but it's just simple in the right way so that it can really impact you well. Because a lot of this music, it's very simple drum beats. I'm trying to like mimic this 80s sound of like drum machines. So it's all very exact, but I think there is an art to like putting the kick and the snare all in the right place, you know, just so that it hits you in a certain way. Yeah.
It's all about the beat.
It's all about the beat. Yeah.
And drumming is unique in as much as I don't think people think of it as an instrument per se. That a real drummer can make the drums play anywhere they need to be in the song, to me.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of drummers aren't able to do that, but...
Yeah, it definitely takes practice to learn the finesse of the drums.
Good word.
Because, you can hop on a drum and play everything as loud as you can, and yeah, those sound like drums, but it's not really music yet. You know,
exactly.
You have to... The dynamics, I think that's one of the most important part of drums is where do you play soft and where do you play loud and how you mix the two. When are you complicated? When are you simple? When are you letting your band have the spotlight and when do you take it? And it's just a bunch of a lot of eye contact with the band. It's a lot of like body language and nonverbal communication with your band you have to have as a drummer. So you make sure everything kind of gets glued together.
Sure.
Yeah.
And in the studio, the fill.
Yeah.
Is everything.
Yeah. Got to have the fill in the right place, but not too many either, because there are some drummers, they'll do a fill every bar, and it's just like, dude, calm down. We don't need all that.
So what's it like being in front of a crowd as a DJ?
It's pretty exciting. I had always thought it would be a little bit more nerve-wracking because you're alone up there and this and that, but I honestly, I get super relaxed when I'm DJing. As long as you're comfortable mixing from one song to another, you know, the music's already made. As long as you like mix in to the song smoothly, then you're safe because the song is going to play and the crowd is going to dance to it. And then you have time to look for the next song and you're seeing the crowd, how they're reacting to music currently playing. And okay, how can I keep this vibe going? And I love it. It's just like I'm dancing up there, watching them have fun. I'm having fun. Just like, try to keep the party going. So it's definitely different than drumming. Drumming, I'm very focused on the music at hand, making sure I'm, you know, following the structure of the song and everything and watching the band. But when I'm DJing, I can take a lot of time to just have fun.
So there's an art to read the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess the better DJs are really good at that.
Yeah, because a lot of beginners, they play the music that they like a lot. And that can work sometimes if the audience also likes that music, but it can also be detrimental where, okay, all I have on my laptop or my USB is music that I like, and it's all kind of one note. You go somewhere, like your one note is house. I love house music, but you go somewhere else and they want techno or like some like hard style. So your house music is going to be very low key for that environment, and they're not going to be moving because they're expecting something twice as fast or something much more intense, and so they're just going to be waiting for the beat to drop, and it's just standing there. And so you have to read that and be like, okay, these guys aren't moving yet. Let's try something else. And then, moving a little bit more. Okay, let's keep going in this direction or pull it back. Let's go somewhere else with it. And that's the exciting part for me is trying to figure out that puzzle and how to make the crowd move.
Sure.
But I haven't DJed in a while. It's been at least a year since I've played anywhere here in Dallas.
I'm sure you'll have some gigs coming up.
Hopefully, yeah, that's the plan.
So there's an emotion there that you're actually working with the crowd because music creates emotion in people.
That definitely does, yeah.
How do you read that, and how does that work?
Movement is one big way, but also seeing what the crowd is doing. If everybody's talking and they want to have conversations like that, I don't know. It's just like kind of a toss-up at that point. Do you want to just keep trying to like push and make everybody move, or do you then calm it down and allow them to have their party and gradually like bring the beat in and make a move. Every DJ is going to have their own style. I wouldn't consider myself an expert on DJing or anything like that quite yet. I still have a lot of ways to go in practicing that. But something I hope to get some hours of practice here soon so I can figure out how to do that better.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
Most musical instruments have physical limitations in as much as a piano has 88 keys,
right.
Guitar has 6 strings, and obviously there's a multitude of variations in using that, but you create music using software. Mm-hmm. Are there limitations in using software to create music?
So yeah, there definitely are limitations in that it's going to be a lot harder to make something sound natural and open and realistic, I guess. I don't know if that's the exact right word. But when you record a guitar or somebody playing a guitar, you are recording the instrument and the musician. And so he's putting some swing in there, right. Some dynamics. He's like pushing on the strings a little harder or on the piano keys and doing some fills here and there. And it's all some of it's going to be slightly off tempo and some exactly on. So it gives it this like kind of human aspect to it. And it's very easy to lose that when you're making music on the computer. You could just sequence everything so it's exactly on time. Everything is perfect. And when you hear perfection in audio, it doesn't really jump out to you as a listener. It's not going to be as interesting as something that's played live, but it doesn't jump out to you if you have everything perfect on your software and one note is just a little bit off. That jumps out. So it has to be either everything is going to be a little bit on and off so that it sounds human,
right?
Or everything is exactly on so that it sounds good. You know, not as interesting, but it'll still sound good and not jump out to you. So that is a limitation on how do you get this music to sound like it's a living, breathing thing and not just typed
I like that
stuff there.
It's alive.
Yeah, so that's this new project I've been working on. That is one thing I really try to focus on. So I always try to bring in some sort of real instrument in there, whether it be guitar, piano, clarinet, voice, something that was produced initially by a human so that I can then take that, chop it up, play it take this real instrument and then play it on a computer so that, I'm playing these notes exactly, but these notes were played by a real musician, so you hear all this nuance and cool stuff, and it really brings this life into the music.
So artificial intelligence isn't going to take over just yet?
I hope not.
Good. We'll see.
Yeah.
Some people think producing synthetic or synth music using software is really not creating music. You don't really have a traditional instrument like we talked about, and there's no practicing like so many musicians have to go through to master their craft on that instrument. What do you think about that idea?
I think that is a fallacy that you don't really need practice because it's very easy to believe that. Like you're doing it on a computer or you're just typing keys. You can look up on YouTube and figure out how to do that. But I think like anything, to be a professional, you have to have, what is it, like 100,000 hours or 10,000 hours, something invested in it. Music software is no exception to that. There's so many things that you have to think about. Routing, what kind of plugin? Do I need some compression, equalization? Do I have to boost here? Do I have to cut here? Do we have to up the ratio or lower the threshold? There's all these like technical terms that yes, you can read about what it does, but it's not until you use it for hours and hours and hours until you really understand what this knob I'm turning is really doing. And that takes a lot of practice.
Sure.
That takes like, okay, I'm playing this, I'm going to play it over 100 times in a row, and I'm only going to adjust my compressor ratio and see, oh yeah, that sounds a little tighter when I turn this knob, and now it sounds a little like, okay, now it's got more dynamics when I turn it down a little this way. And those are just two effects, equalizer and compressor. Those things you can take a whole day on just working with your mix with those two things. But then on top of that, there's all these different effects. And then learning the hotkeys on how to travel through the software quickly and efficiently. I mean, I could, go in and click on everything that I want to do, right click and go down this menu to select, okay, I want to copy this and put it over here. But having one hand on the keyboard, one hand on the mouse, I can move twice as fast now because I've memorized all these hotkeys. So doing one project that would take somebody 2 hours, I can do in about 30 minutes. And so, definitely lots of practice involved. luckily for me, I was able to do a lot of the initial practice in high school when I had a lot of free time.
In the back of math
Yeah,
class,
exactly.
right.
In the back of all my classes, I'd be back there searching all the hotkeys. And I didn't really think of it as practice back then. I thought, I mean, this is cool. I'm just making music in class. But that laid a foundation for sure. Once I started really getting interested and invested in it, I already had all these hours, so I could pick it up. All this new information that I was learning, I could just utilize it really fast and pick everything up.
So you worked on your practical skills,
Mm-hmm.
and then as you've evolved, obviously you've become quite expert at it.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that all of this technology, and yet what you've just said is you really want to get the human side of the music.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a conflict there.
There is a conflict, but so that is one limitation. It's harder to get that human aspect into the music. But at the same time, like you said, there are virtually no limitations. So my goal is to create this music that has never been made before, something that's out of this world that's just like, what am I even listening to right now? But I want it to be familiar enough so that it's not just like noise at that point. You know, there is a artist, Ryoji Akita. I believe he's Japanese. His music is out there. It's just a lot of clicks and pops and there's no melody or anything melodic in the music. It's all these clicks and bleeps and kind of computer noises. I love that stuff.
Right.
But that isn't something that can become popular anytime soon, I don't think. It's very, very eclectic. But I like trying to take some influence from that world and bring it in to the mainstream so that anybody can listen to it and feel the beat and really enjoy it, but also hear like, wow, I've never heard of these sounds before. And that you can't really do with a guitar or a piano.
Right.
Have to have a computer. But that's where the art comes in. That's where having this, this knowledge of how music works, having all this music theory knowledge really comes into play there, because I can think back on music that was popular or is popular. Why was that popular, and how can I mix it in with this thing that's definitely not popular right now? Yeah,
sure.
Yeah,
the Beatles were always looking for sounds that people may not have heard before, and trying to figure that out, where that's going to be in their music. So to some extent, that's what you're saying.
Absolutely. I just have a lot more futuristic tools to work with here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Unlimited, as we said.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the software that you are using or have used, and how you go about building a song.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your instrument here.
Ableton Push, yeah. So if we're talking music, then I will be using Ableton almost every time. I think it's the workflow that they've created is just, I think it's also because I'm so used to it. I've been using it for about 10 years now. But it's awesome. You have this one screen where you can create loops for yourself. So say I have 8 tracks. The first track is going to be drums. So here I can have 4 different drum loops with different patterns here. And then my next track over is going to be some guitar. And I can have 4 different loops of guitar. So if I press one button on the drum track, that'll start the drum pattern. And then I can mix in any of these 4 guitar patterns to play with this drum pattern. And I'm like, okay, this drum pattern sounds good with this guitar pattern. What would it sound like with this other drum pattern here? And now I'm playing a different pattern. And I can have unlimited tracks with all these different instruments and all these different clips, and combining like this loop with this loop over here. And what if I bring this loop in later? So that's like whole like experimentation part, figuring out what loops and what stuff sounds good with it. And then there's another side of the program where you actually are laying it out on a timeline, kind of like what you'd see in Pro Tools or Logic, where it's all horizontal.
On the computer
view.
then.
Right, yeah.
Okay, because the board that you're on has basically little white buttons.
Right, yeah, it's 8x8 grid of buttons, where I would launch those clips. But then I'll be looking at the computer at this point, and I can take all those little clips, which these buttons represent, and lay them out horizontally to then flesh out a song. So usually I will very basically create the skeleton of the song using those clips that I've made to create kind of a structure, intro, chorus, verse, verse.
So standard.
Yeah, something like that.
Respect. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I can, once it's laid out horizontally like that, then I can go in and create build-ups and take some stuff out and get really creative with it.
So basically, you've got this plastic box that's maybe, 18 inches by 12 inches. It's got white plastic buttons on it, and that's what you're using as an instrument to create music.
100%, yes.
Okay. Let's let you kind of noodle with that and see what kind of sound we can come up with.
Cool. So, yes, this is a plastic box, but Ableton made this to basically control the entire software from here so that I wouldn't have to look at the computer so much. And like you said, there's limitations. So they were tasked with the project of trying to fit every instrument ever into something like this, of an 8x8
Small
grid.
space, yeah.
Yeah. So they got really creative with the way that they did the keyboard. And so that's what we're looking at here. This is a keyboard. All the dark blue notes that we see are going to be the root of the chord, or the tonic. So this song is in C major.
And you wrote this song?
I wrote this song,
okay.
Yeah. The song is in C major. So right here, the dark blue notes, these are going to be C. Different octaves.
Right.
If I play in the white keys, everything that's lit up, I will be diatonically in C major. So every note that I hit is going to be in the scale.
There it is.
If I play the ones that aren't lit up, those are going to be the accidentals. So I still play chromatically. I have every note there, but it's laying it out really simple for me so I can see. That's the scale that I'm in.
Right.
If I wanted to be in A flat Dorian, which is a church mode, something that's not very common, but say I'm in a band and somebody's like, hey, let's go A flat Dorian. We need a, you're like, okay, A flat Dorian.
There we go.
And there it is. That easy. Just change your scales. People call it cheating. I think that's the future. It's just streamlining everything. But so it lays it out really simply. But learning how to play chords and how the notes interact with each other, that goes back to music theory. So
right.
This is just another instrument, learning how to play it. So I can, let's go a major 7th there. So that's how I play it. If I wanted to create a little loop, I would turn my metronome on, and I'll just press this record button when I want to make a loop. Turn the metronome off there. So I have a small loop there. I want to bring in simple drums. That's just a kick drum right there.
Right.
Bring in the snare. And that's kind of the gist. That's how I start building stuff. That's just a very simple beat. I can go on top of that and maybe play something else.
I'm feeling the groove.
Just add some textures in there. That's how I start making a song. It'll start as basically as that. I like that loop. Let's build on it and see where that takes us. So I can play. So using these instruments, I showed you only a couple of instruments that I have on this session here. But have you seen the show Stranger Things?
Yes.
So this song was very heavily influenced by that show. There's one, I forget which episode, is on the 3rd season. They're in a theater watching some horror movie. And there's music playing in the theater. And like when I heard that heavily influenced the intro to this song, and then from there I took it in a different direction. But I'll go ahead and play this.
I like that. Now, what about the vocal?
This one doesn't have any vocals.
Do you prefer having vocals on your music?
Not always.
Okay.
Sometimes,
do you sing? You sing, don't you?
I was in choir for a while in college. I don't know if I have a great voice for like solo music. I've thought about it, but I'm not a huge singer at this moment. No, I don't sing. But I don't know. Some music I like to have just the instrumental, just feel the music and the beat and the melody. A lot of times I will make it really complicated to the point where there's not even any room for vocals at that point. But yeah, it's just give or take. I make a lot of music with friends too, and those guys are usually going to be vocalists. So I will make the music part of it, and they can sing on top. But for my own projects, I will use vocals as samples. So I'll be playing something kind of repetitively back and forth, or use them like that song Five Finger Death Punch, where it's just kind of
your song.
Right. Yeah. Just used as kind of dramatic parts in the song going into the next piece, kind of something like that. Yeah.
So will software overtake traditional music making? Will there be a backlash?
That's a good question. I don't think that software has hit its peak yet. I think we're still going to be seeing a lot more stuff coming out. But where the push, people were saying this is kind of cheating now. It's making it too easy. I think that's going to be the direction it's going to go. Everything's going to be very easy. And I think it's going to get to the point where it's almost going to be like everything sounds the same. Like most genres. I think at a certain point, things start to just all sound the same. That's what's popular, so there it is. And I think at that point, there'll be a backlash. And it'll like go back to real music, playing on guitars and stuff. And that's going to be the new thing at that point in time, you know? But I don't think we're there yet. I think we still have ways to go with controllers and software and everything.
That was my next question. So ultimately, how will technology affect music in the future?
Well, there we go. Hopefully, it makes it more accessible to everybody.
Right.
I think all these genres. I mean, so I kind of think on these terms where before we had the internet and cell phones and this instant access to communication with everybody around the world, different pockets of the world had very different music. Everything was extremely culturalized, and this is music of this area. And as technology grows and with the internet, I can see what somebody's doing in India right now. And so these borders are kind of getting mixed and meshed now.
Right.
I mean, I saw a video of this girl. She was born in America, like somewhere, some landlocked state, but she has a genuine English accent because of all of the stuff that she listens to she just watches YouTube so much and like all of her shows are English shows. So she's developed that accent, but she doesn't live anywhere near there, you know? So I think that's happening with music too. Somebody in Texas could be making like traditional Japanese erhu. I had a friend in college or in high school. He played an erhu, and he had an instructor here in San Antonio who taught him how to play erhu, which is very traditional Japanese or Chinese. I could be wrong. It's over there on that side of the world. Very traditional
instrument.
Is it a
stringed instrument?
It's a two-string instrument where the bow is stuck in between the two strings.
Right.
And you play it by just like putting pressure on each string and playing like that. But 20 years ago, I don't think, maybe like 50 years ago, I don't think anybody would be playing that in Texas. You know, It's something that you wouldn't really find here. And so just access to information is kind of pushing everything together. So I think music is going to sound very different in the future, where it's just going to be, you're not really going to have a genre anymore. It's just going to be, there probably will be genres. Maybe that's too far.
But a world influence.
Yes, a world influence.
As you said, it's so easily accessible anytime, any place. And if you want West African music, you can get that.
Yeah.
If you want Zydeco, obviously you can get that at any time.
I think now we're going to have like West African mixed with Hispanic, like reggaeton with a little bit of Detroit house in there. And it's just like this weird mixture. It's like, it kind of works though. It sounds good, but something that would never have been possible, like in the past.
I really like your music, and you've got 40,000 streams on SoundCloud. Tell us about your latest EP, or tell us about the projects that you might have.
Yeah, so works. My SoundCloud right now, that's Sunnyside. And I created that in high school. When I first got into Ableton Live, I wanted somewhere with like some name that I could put on the music I was creating, and somewhere where I could share it with people. But it wasn't super high quality yet. It's just me learning how to make music, and I wanted to share it, and hopefully people liked it out there. But there was no rhyme or reason. Anything I made would be uploaded to Sunnyside, whether it was dubstep or hip hop.
And that's Sunnyside CYDE.
Yeah,
by the
Sunny,
way.
CYDE. But yeah, it didn't really have any cohesiveness to the project. It's just kind of putting everything I could out there. And that continued all the way through college. Because I always considered myself as a student and learning. I didn't think of myself as a professional musician yet or anything like that. So I was just kind of casually making it, putting it out, making it, putting it out. No marketing, no planning, nothing involved. But this January, I got to thinking about that and seeing some people that were my age now like playing these worldwide tours and getting on these huge stages. And I'm just thinking like, okay, what were they doing that I wasn't doing? And I think it's that they're really paying a lot of attention, not just to the music they're making, but how they're putting it out there. Because you could make the best song in the world, the best song, like literally every person loves it, and you put it on a USB drive and you throw it in the forest and no one's ever going to listen to it.
Precisely.
And it's gone. So the internet is a huge forest. So it's very easy to do that. Make something that's amazing, upload it, forget about it, and nobody ever gets to hear it. So that has to be, I realize that has to be a big part of it too. Not just creating the music, but how I present it to the world. So that's kind of what I started to focus on with this new project. It's called Deckard. And so my whole life I've been really interested in sci-fi. So this is a chance for me to really nerd out, show my colors. I'm creating this whole narrative that this might bore some people. But
Go ahead, let's hear it.
I'm creating this narrative. It's very science fiction, and basically it'll take place maybe like 60 or 70 years in the future. And Earth has essentially killed itself, whether it be by pollution or war or something. It's not habitable anymore. So people are living off-site on these big spaceships somewhere in space. But they need to send these drones back to Earth to see, like, okay, when can we move back? What's going on there? Let's keep taking pictures so we can have like visuals, like Earth visuals on this ship, to keep people sane, thinking about nature and all this stuff. But they have to have this contact, sending robots back to visit it. So one of the droids that they're creating, this engineer that's creating this, he has the idea like, well, what if I just put in a little bit of code to give him some emotion or some independent thought, and then I send it back there. So this robot goes to Earth, starts recording all these sounds, but processing them in its own way, creating its own version of, like, he'll maybe find an artifact from the 80s, like some cassette tape, be able to listen to it and then process it in his own kind of AI mind,
right,
and bring that back to the ship. So then somebody up there is like, well, okay, we have a recording of a waterfall, he's some bird chirping, and then this one, he brought us back. This sounds like a song. It's like, this is crazy. This is brand new music. I've never heard this before. And so that is the kind of music that's the whole storyline, basically. Right. So the music that I'm making is the music that this droid is kind of creating in his own head, and he's sending it back to the ship. So that's why I'm always going to have some sort of real instrument, some sort of human touch to it, but it's all been manipulated by this droid called Deckard. And that's the name of the project.
It's a great story. We look forward to hearing about that.
Thanks.
William Flato, it's been a great pleasure to have you on the World of Texas Music.
I loved being here.
Thanks for being here. What song of yours would you like us to take us out on?
Well, I'll take us out with a demo of one of my newest songs called Re-Envision Quest.
Samples located. Groove initiated. Rhythm A. Download. Fill to B. Locating system audio databank for sample upload. Rhythm computer. Execute.
This is Andrew Clendenin with the World of Texas Music on the web at WTXM.org. Come visit us there, send us some emails. We'll respond to your comment, and please subscribe to the program. Thanks for listening.